Hey everyone, welcome to Mountain Beast Mysteries. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the 1974 Gombe Chimpanzee War that took place, in Tanzania, in Africa, back, during Jane Goodall's research of chimpanzees. And I wanted to talk about this today because I thought it was very interesting, and it might apply to, how we look at Bigfoot. A lot of people think Bigfoot is just a peaceful, forest-dwelling creature that, for the most part is full of love. And, you hear a lot of people talking like this, but what I believe Sasquatch to probably be like is something that is capable of, more aggressive behaviors and definitely capable of hurting people and other animals and those of its own kind. Obviously, to think like that, you have to look at it as more of a flesh and blood ape-like creature, which for the most part, that's what I'm leaning towards it being. And I always have leaned more in that direction, though I do like exploring all the other aspects of the subject to keep it more interesting. And you never know what it actually might turn out to be, so it could be a spiritual thing or like a mystical creature, but odds are, and the evidence points to it being something more ape-like and flesh and blood, because it's a creature leaving physical evidence behind. Really thick wilderness around here. It's kind of hard moving around, and there's no trails or anything, so I'm just kind of wandering through here, hoping to come across anything unusual, and nothing as of yet. But basically, back in 1974, up until that point, the people who were researching chimpanzees, like the most notable individual is Jane Goodall, they thought them to be a very peaceful species. They would have social behaviors not unlike humans, and up until that point, like I said, they were a peaceful species. They hadn't observed anything crazy as far as violence goes towards each other or any aggressive behavior like that. But they began feeding these chimpanzees. They actually built special feeders that they left out in the jungle that contained bananas, and the chimpanzees would come and they would, retrieve the bananas and they would be able to eat. And eventually, as time went on, they noticed that chimpanzees were coming from two different directions, almost like there was two different groups. Also, it is worth noting that they had studied these chimpanzees for a while prior, and they were able to pick out individual chimps. So they actually had them named. Each chimpanzee had its own name, and they were able to tell which ones were which. But anyways, they noticed that it appeared as if these chimpanzees had split up into two different groups. And they weren't really sure at first. They thought maybe there was two different groups of chimps all along. But then after studying them more, they did determine that a single group of chimpanzees, I think there was somewhere in the mid-40s, something like 45 different chimpanzees in this group. They had split up, and there was one larger group and one smaller group. And they ended up finding out that these chimpanzees had split up because the alpha male was a chimpanzee named Leaky, actually passed away. And so that left a spot open for an alpha male. And essentially what happened was that there was a power struggle that developed between these chimpanzees, between some of the males. The next in line was a chimpanzee named Humphrey. And his position as the alpha male was pretty weak, and he was constantly challenged by two other chimps who were actually brothers. And this led to conflict between two different groups of chimpanzees. A power struggle. Not unlike humans, how humans are. There's always a power struggle. And basically, over the course of 4 years, these chimpanzees would fight each other and kill each other. They would beat each other up, physically. They would, kill each other with rocks, and they would bite each other. And like the chimpanzees would even go on like night patrols. The chimpanzees, the males, would line up in single file in the darkness, and they wouldn't make a noise, and they would just move through the jungle looking for the enemy. And they would kind of patrol their territorial boundary. So that just shows how smart these chimpanzees are. And it's pretty crazy to know that they are capable of waging war, in a sense. I mean, they would kill the enemy males, sometimes kill the females, but when it comes down to it, it was a war between power and like mating as well, or like a fighting over the females. So, I mean, just like humans, we fight over power, we fight over mates, and conflict like that is never too far away. So it is interesting. But you know, how I think it might apply to Sasquatch is that they might be doing the same things. They might have, you know, conflict between different tribes of Sasquatch, if there is different tribes of Sasquatch. They might be doing the same thing. We know Sasquatch, if they are real, they probably think tactically in the way they move. So they're able to sneak up on people quite easily. And, you know, I could imagine if they had to fight one another, they would do that in a way. They would do that in a way that is similar to chimpanzees. You know, they probably patrol their territories and do so in a manner where they're pretty much undetectable. Yes, this is just theory and speculation, but primates fight. It's something that they do. Primates fight, they have conflict, they kill each other, they kill other animals. And, you know, it was something that wasn't really believed to be part of their behavior before 1974. You know, they were actually quite shocked to find out that that's like how they were, and that they had that inside of them to kill each other. The researchers were quite disturbed. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sasquatch, you know, were capable of violent acts like that, capable of waging war between different groups of Sasquatch, you know, amongst themselves. Kind of a little bit of a game trail here. And this bush is so thick, it's like the jungle almost. You know, those chimps, though, at first, they thought they might be fighting over the food. You know, the food that the researchers were leaving out, the feeding stations. But, you know, that theory kind of dissolved when they find out that the alpha male of the group died. So, you know, chimpanzees are very close to humans as far as DNA goes. And I suspect Sasquatch to be even closer. And we know humans are capable of terrible, evil things. Fighting, killing, you know. So, it would not surprise me that Sasquatch do the same thing. In general, I feel like they're very similar to humans, that there would be Sasquatch that are more malevolent and then ones that are more benevolent. And it's just, you know, like even with like something like a dog, you know, dogs have different temperaments. Some dogs are really nice around like kids, and other dogs just lose it. So I feel like Sasquatch would more than likely be similar to that. So I guess it depends, you know, what you think Sasquatch is. Do you think it's a flesh and blood creature, undiscovered primate? Or do you think it's a spiritual, you know, mystical creature that can travel between dimensions and it's just here to spread love and joy? I don't know. I did just post the story of Bowman, the trapper whose friend was, you know, savagely killed by what was more than likely a Sasquatch. And there's more stories like that. They're not very common, but it just shows, you know, that they're capable of violence. And a lot of times, you know, you hear about the rock throwing and the tree branches breaking and all kinds of weird noise coming from the bush. That could be like a territorial thing, like they're trying to scare people away and to warn people that they're in the area. And you know, chimpanzees, they'll grab hold of trees and bushes and they'll shake them, and that's like a territorial display, a sign of aggression, and you know, it's to warn other chimps or people to, you know, get out. So who knows? Something to think about. I would like to know what you guys think about it in the comments down below. Appreciate you guys tuning in to watch. We'll see you next time on Mountain Beast Mysteries.